Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're doing well today, and we're back with more Division 2 tips and tricks. And today what I thought I would cover was just the overall logic of gear and equipment and trying to make that as strong as possible through every part of the game that you're playing. I know that the veterans of the game will probably know this already, but if you're a new player or you're a little way in and you're not quite getting your head around the gear, like I did, I had a certain view on it and I was missing out on all kinds of buffs to my character. So we're going to try and fill in the gaps for you today. Should be good. Let's do it. So it goes with that saying that you want to have a character that is strong throughout the game, regardless of whether you're on level 1 or level 40. You always want to have the best kind of setup you possibly can on your character to make sure that the game is enjoyable and that you're not getting overwhelmed by enemies or constantly dying. And so I thought I would just go through some really basics about gear and how you can use gear to your advantage. And some stuff you might not actually know about. Like me, I was really, when I first came to this game, I was basing my gear choices purely on the armor value and probably missing out on a whole lot of opportunities to be even stronger in the game. And so I think the first thing that you've got to ask yourself is what kind of playstyle do you use in the game? Are you a run and gun kind of player? Are you getting in people's faces and doing high damage to enemies? Or are you a kind of sit back with a sniper or a marksman rifle or a rifle and pick people off? Or are you, like me, somewhere in between where you like to have a variety of weapons at your disposal to use in different scenarios? So the first thing you really have to do is get your head around that kind of playstyle aspect. The other way of looking at this is if you get a weapon that is really strong and you really love, then how do you build your gear around that to make the strongest possible character and have that weapon that you love maximized so it's doing the most damage and being the most effective for you. So we're sort of going to talk all about that today. I will go back and use a couple accounts today because I've got one that's absolutely maxed out at level 40 and then I've got another one that's a little way down the track, and you can see how you can use these logics regardless of what point you're at in the game to make sure that you're getting the most out of the game and your character. So we're going to start with my level 12 character that we're using for the playthrough. And let's just hop into the menu for a second. And you can see we've got all manner of gear there. Different colours, different brands, all kinds of stuff there. And so I'm going to take you through and we're going to talk about this in a little bit of detail. So this build in no way, it's a pretty good example because this in no way is optimized to my playstyle. As you can see up at the top there, the weapons that I'm using pretty much are an assault rifle and an SMG. I do have an LMG there and I do have a marksman rifle, but pretty much what I rely on in the early points of the game, and pretty much a lot of my gameplay is around these two weapons, an assault rifle and a SMG. Now, the gear set here is sort of tailored to that, but it could be done a lot better. So I want to talk you through the logic of that and show you what mistakes I've made in this setup, and then we'll go to my other account and I'll show you how I've worked on a build to maximize how I play the game. So first up, we have the face match, which is at this point a Sokolov branded face mask. It's a blue one, and you can see there with any gear set, depending on what it is. Now, as you get better gear sets, you're going to get more buffs to to your character, but you can see with the green mask, for instance, there's very little on that. There's weapon damage, skill damage, and very little else there. Whereas with the Sokolov mask, you can see I get the brand set has 3 buffs to it: an SMG damage, which is tick for how I play, critical hit damage, and then critical hit chance. Now, you can see it says 2 of 3, and what that is saying is that if you wear 3 pieces, and it doesn't matter what they are of Sokolov concern branded gear, then you're going to get those 3 buffs. And then beyond that, I've got a little core attribute, which is weapon damage, which is not very high, but it's there. Repair skill, headshot damage. Okay. So we move along to the next gear piece, which is Alp Summit. And really, apart from the headshot damage, there's not a lot there that complements my build or the way I play the game. We get a 20% repair skill, but you know, there's not a lot there. I do get 1483 armor, and that's always been my logic with the division and how I played it, and it's completely wrong. But I do get a buff in the talents, which is if you are below 30% armor, headshots from cover repair 20% of your armor. So again, that talent really doesn't match with my playstyle, because headshots, well, you're more likely to get headshots with maybe a sniper or a marksman or something, but you might be lucky with an assault rifle. But generally, that gear piece probably needs changed to give me the maximum for my playstyle. The holster, okay, pistol damage, weapon damage, critical hit damage, really not doing much for me. I'm not using my pistol, so that's completely useless to use. Knee pads, that's my second piece of Sokolov, so I get a lot of buffs there, and you can see with this one, this is a good gear piece to have. Not only am I getting that critical hit damage buff because I'm wearing the second piece of Sokolov, but I've got a very high weapon damage, I've got very high critical hit chance, and I've got very high health buff. So those are all maxed out. So that's a real good gear piece to have. And obviously with gear, it's always going to change from level 1 to level 40. So you're always going to be looking to change this, but if you can get a strong piece like this, it's worth keeping. And we'll talk about how you can get how you can farm for gear pieces later. With the gloves, again, weapon handling, that's okay, but everything else on that piece is very little benefit to my build. 526 armor, yeah, it's not great. And then again, with the backpack, that really isn't working to my benefit for this build, because it's on shotgun damage. So we've got to change the feel of this build to be much more aligned with SMGs and assault rifles. So I'm into my level 40 character here now. Ignore the fact that I've got all these gears sets here. I want you to follow the logic of what I'm about to kind of say to you, because it will help you in the early game or any part of the game. So my personal play style is I would largely go play with a assault rifle and an SMG, but I do tend to like to have in my back pocket an LMG, and at times I'll use a marksman rifle. It's pretty much how I play the game. I like a variety of weapons to carry with me at any one time, which makes kind of building your character using the gear sets to your advantage a little bit more difficult. So the pistol I'll pull out and use every so often, but it really isn't a consideration. So I don't want a gear set with that gives me pistol damage. So that just will not benefit me. I really want to concentrate on a build that gives me assault rifle damage and SMG damage right up front. So what I'm using is Heartbreaker and Hunter's Fury gear sets, and I use the Heartbreaker because you can see quite clearly here, if I have 2 pieces of Heartbreaker, it will give me buffs to both assault rifle damage and LMG damage. Okay, That's why I use Heartbreaker. I use the Hunter's Fury because that then gives me a buffed SMG damage. I'm not too fussed on shotgun damage. I do have a shotgun in my inventory that I carry, but I really don't use the shotgun. I really wanted the Hunter's Fury more for the SMG damage. And then beyond that, I wanted the armor on kill and health on kill. So I get 20% of my armor back when I kill an enemy and 100% of my health back when I kill an enemy. That's what keeps me in the game and keeps me viable. And I also get the buff there, the Apex Predator buff. So those are the key things that I'm focused on. Beyond that, with all these gear pieces, you obviously got core attribute buffs and attribute buffs and all kinds of stuff. But I'm really more focused on maximizing that those different weapon buffs. And then you can see I've used my recalibration station here to get a better weapon handling. But again, that's not my focus. Now, the key on a build is finding the gear set that suits you. And you're going to find all the different gear sets in the game will have different buffs for you. And so it's trying to match that gear brand that works with you, or gear brands that work for how you're playing the game at any point. Don't get too hung up on the fact that I've got Hunter's Fury, I've got Heartbreak or whatever. It can be anything, but it's got to suit what you're doing in the game. So I'm going to go through a few of these chest pieces just to illustrate this. So you can see, for instance, that this is a Providence Defense piece here I'm showing you here, and you can see the brand set offers headshot damage, critical hit chance and critical hit damage. So if that is your focus, go out and find a Providence pieces for your character. If you want to have better total armor, better health and armor regen, then Gila Guard might be the brand set for you, and so on and so forth. You can see this one, the Hasberg Guard, will give you a buff to your headshot damage plus your marksman rifle damage and status effect. So again, it's a case of finding the gear set that's going to work for the weapons that you're using, or if you have a favorite weapon, then build all the gear sets around that. And that's the key, ladies and gentlemen. That's the key to being very effective in the game and staying above the curve and making sure you're maximizing your character against your enemies. Now, I'm not sure when this happens in the game. It might be level 30. I don't think it's early on in the game, but I'll just take you to the map for a second, and you'll see down in the bottom there is a set waypoint player, and then there is a option for targeted loot. And I think this is a later in the game addition. But what I can do if I'm doing a certain build and I need a couple of pieces, then I can hit that button and it'll open up the map with all the different brands. If I want to concentrate on gloves, I can go and do that main mission there. If I wanted to get, say, a certain backpack, which is something I'm working on at the moment, I can go and do the Coney Island missions, or I can go to the summit, and some of these will allow you to set your targeted loot, some of these game modes. But again, if you're looking for certain things, then you can change the map view and see where that brand maybe is, and then go and concentrate in this area, and your chances of getting that pieces of that brand set are increased. Pretty much all I have for you today, but what I will do is I'm going to throw up very quickly a little guide that I found online, just highlighting each of the gear sets and what their buffs are, so that you can make an informed choice on the gear sets that are going to work for you in your build, whether you're basing your builds around weapons or skills or whatever it might be. Hopefully this is all useful. Hopefully it's given you a little bit more of an idea what gear can do for you and how it can help you, and how you can make your character much stronger by just taking some time and organizing your build to work for you. If it has been useful, let me know down in the comments. Like ratings, always appreciated. I've got tons more Division 2 content coming up for you in the future. So if you're not subscribed and you want to keep up on all the tutorials and gameplay, etc., make sure you've hit that red button and put the bell notification on. And we'll catch you next time on Gaming for XP. See ya.